Hey everyone, I got a question for you. If you could bring back just one store from your past, one place that defined your younger years, which would it be? Today, we're time traveling through the stores that shaped our lives, the places we took for granted until they were gone. Some of these stores didn't just close, they took pieces of our memories with them. Tell us in the comments below which one you miss most. Okay guys, first up let's talk about Radio Shack, founded in 1921. It was the tech haven that made electronics accessible to everyone. In the 70s and 80s, it was the place to go for tech. They sold everything from CB radios to the groundbreaking TRS-80 computer, which introduced countless Americans to the digital age. The story of Radio Shack's decline began in the 90s when they shifted focus from components and hobbyist supplies to cell phones and consumer electronics, alienating their core customer base. By 2015, after 94 years in business, they filed for bankruptcy. A second bankruptcy in 2017 sealed their fate, though the name lives on as an online brand. Here's something that might surprise you. Bill Gates and Paul Allen wrote their first software in a Radio Shack store using a display model TRS-80. The store manager would let them program after hours because he saw their potential. That software? It was a traffic counter program that eventually led to the formation of Microsoft. Now let's dive into Sears. The famous Sears catalog was exactly 8 inches thick. During the Great Depression, families would spend hours dreaming over its pages, planning purchases for better days ahead. By the 1970s, Sears was selling Craftsman tools, Kenmore appliances, die-hard batteries, brands that became household names and symbols of American quality. The fall of Sears is perhaps the greatest tragedy in retail history. The death blow came from a combination of factors: the rise of Walmart's lower prices, Home Depot's bigger tool selection, Amazon's convenience, and a disastrous merger with Kmart in 2005. Want to hear something incredible? Sears once decided to prove their tools' durability by using a Craftsman wrench as a replacement for a broken connecting rod in a V8 engine. They ran the engine for 32 hours straight, and the wrench held up. You sure couldn't do that with today's tools. Woolworths was America's first real teenager hangout. Founded in 1879, by the 1950s and 60s, their lunch counters had become social institutions. A grilled cheese sandwich cost 35 cents, a chocolate malt was 25 cents, and the conversations were free. Woolworths' decline wasn't just about economics, it was about changing social patterns. As shopping malls grew in popularity, downtown areas where most Woolworths were located began to decline. By the 1990s, Woolworths tried to modernize with specialty stores like Foot Locker, which they owned, but the magic was gone. The last Woolworths lunch counter served its final meal in 1997, marking the end of an era. If you ever sat at a Woolworths lunch counter, we want to hear your story. What'd you order? Who were you with? Share your memories in the comments below. And if you're enjoying this journey through retail history, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe. We're just getting started, and trust me, you won't want to miss what's coming next. Montgomery Ward, or Monkey Ward as we affectionately called it, was more than just a Sears competitor. Founded before Sears in 1872, Ward's pioneered the entire concept of mail-order retail. During the Christmas season, their catalogs were works of art, featuring elaborate illustrations that made every kid's imagination run wild. In the 1970s, their stores were retail wonderlands, with everything from fashion to furniture, and their in-house brands like Signature and Airline were known for quality. The decline of Montgomery Ward is a story of missed opportunities and stubborn adherence to outdated business models. In 1985, they made the decision to end their catalog business, believing that in-store sales were the future. This decision came just as home shopping was about to explode with the rise of QVC and HSN. The company tried to modernize in the 1990s, but a series of failed reorganizations and mounting debt led to their closure in 2001. The final blow was turning down a chance to partner with Amazon in the late 1990s. Here's an amazing piece of American culture. Montgomery Ward's copywriter, Robert L. May, created Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer in 1939 as a Christmas promotion. The company gave away 2.4 million copies of the story that year, and when May fell on hard times, Ward's gave him the copyright to the character, a gift that transformed his life when the story became a hit. Service Merchandise redefined the shopping experience with their unique catalog showroom concept. Display cases showed off the merchandise, but the real magic happened behind the scenes. You'd write down the item numbers on a slip, hand it to a clerk, and watch as your purchases emerge from a mysterious conveyor belt system. The very thing that made Service Merchandise unique, their showroom model, ultimately contributed to their downfall. The rise of stores like Best Buy for electronics and Toys R Us for toys ate into their market share. By the late 1990s, they tried to reinvent themselves with traditional store layouts, but it was too little, too late. Here's a fascinating tidbit. Service Merchandise was one of the first retailers to sell home video game systems in the 1970s. They were so important to the gaming industry that Nintendo chose them as one of the first retailers to carry the Nintendo Entertainment System in 1985. Western Auto was the place where American car culture met Main Street. Founded in 1909 as a mail-order business for Model T parts, by the 1970s, they had evolved into a one-stop shop for anything automotive, outdoor, or mechanical. Their stores were a paradise for the automotive do-it-yourselfers. The decline of Western Auto began when they were acquired by Sears in 1988. The parent company's focus on Craftsman tools and die-hard batteries left Western Auto's brands in limbo. Advanced Auto Parts bought what was left in 1998, and by 2003, the last Western Auto sign came down. Here's something remarkable. Western Auto once had its own racing team in NASCAR, and their driver, Darrell Waltrip, won the Daytona 500 in their car. The company was so ingrained in car culture that they even published their own car repair manuals. For those of you who remember buying your first set of tools at Western Auto, or that special bicycle with the chrome fenders, we want to hear your stories. What was your most memorable Western Auto purchase? Share your memories in the comments below, and don't forget to hit that share button. Let's keep these memories alive for future generations. Circuit City started in 1949 as a TV store called Ward's Company, no relation to Montgomery Ward, and they grew into an electronics powerhouse with their distinctive red and white superstores. In the 70s and 80s, buying a TV or stereo at Circuit City was an experience. Their commissioned salespeople were actually knowledgeable about what they sold, and their price protection guarantee meant you always got the best deal. The company's downfall is a textbook case of how not to run a retail business. In 2007, they made the disastrous decision to fire their highest paid and most experienced salespeople to cut costs. Customer service plummeted. They also invested heavily in DVD technology, just as streaming was taking off. Here's an iconic twist. Circuit City created CarMax in 1993, applying their electronic superstore concept to used cars. When they spun off CarMax in 2002, it was seen as a way to focus on their core business. Today, CarMax is worth billions, while Circuit City is just a memory. Blockbuster, the place where Friday nights began. Founded in 1985, by the 1990s, Blockbuster had become an entertainment empire with over 9,000 stores worldwide. The late fees were annoying, but we kept coming back because Blockbuster was more than a video store. It was a weekly ritual. The story of Blockbuster's demise is now legendary. In 2000, Netflix founders Reed Hastings and Mark Randolph offered to sell their fledgling company to Blockbuster for $50 million. Blockbuster's CEO laughed them out of the room, calling Netflix a niche business. As broadband internet became widespread and streaming technology improved, Blockbuster stuck to their brick-and-mortar model. By the time they tried to compete with Netflix in the late 2000s, it was too late. Here's a mind-bending fact. Blockbuster actually had the opportunity to buy Netflix 3 times. After the initial 2000 offer, they had chances in 2004 and 2007, but passed each time. Today, Netflix is worth over $100 billion, while the last Blockbuster store in Bend, Oregon, stands as a tourist attraction and monument to corporate short-sightedness. Tower Records was an experience. They stayed open until midnight and stocked everything from mainstream hits to obscure imports. In the 70s and 80s, Tower stores were meeting places for music lovers, where you could spend hours browsing through albums, reading music magazines, and discovering new artists. The fall of Tower Records parallels the transformation of the music industry itself. As file-sharing services like Napster emerged in the late 1990s, followed by legal downloads through iTunes, Tower's business model became unsustainable. They had expanded aggressively in the 1990s, taking on significant debt. When music sales declined in the early 2000s, they couldn't adapt quickly enough. The company filed for bankruptcy in 2006, marking the end of an era in music retail. Want to hear something fascinating? Tower Records in Japan was sold off as a separate company in 1981 and continues to thrive today, with over 80 stores across the country. Let's end our journey with Aladdin's Castle, the arcade chain that defined teenage entertainment in the 70s and 80s. They were social hubs where kids could escape for hours with a few quarters. The flashing lights and the thrill of getting your initials on the high score list, these were experiences you couldn't get anywhere else. As home consoles like the Nintendo Entertainment System and Sega Genesis became more sophisticated, the appeal of arcade games diminished. Parents also became concerned about arcades as hangout spots, and many malls began to restrict teenage access. By the late 1990s, most locations had closed. Here's an incredible piece of gaming history. Aladdin's Castle was one of the first places to host organized video game tournaments. In 1980, they held a national Space Invaders Championship that attracted thousands of participants and was covered by national news. The winner, Rebecca Heinemann, went on to become a pioneering video game developer. These stores weren't just places to spend money. They were where we grew up, fell in love, made friends, and created memories that last a lifetime. While websites and apps may be more convenient, they'll never replace the experience of walking into a store where everybody knew your name and shared your passions. Remember to like and subscribe for more deep dives into American history. Share your memories in the comments below. Every story helps preserve these important pieces of our shared past. Until next time, remember that while these stores may be gone, the memories we made in them will last forever.